Peter was already out of the boat when he got scared. He trusted Jesus enough to step onto the water, and a few seconds later he's sinking, grabbing for Jesus' hand. Terrified. I don't think that's a contradiction. I think it's the whole problem with how we talk about fear. Somewhere along the way, we started treating fear like proof. If you really trusted God, you wouldn't feel this. I grew up hearing that, and I believed it for a long time. So now when your heart's racing, or you can't sleep, or your chest is tight, and you don't know why, you're not just afraid. You're afraid and wondering what that says about you. Fear stops being a feeling and starts being a verdict. But Peter didn't stop trusting Jesus when he got scared. He got scared while he was trusting him. Both things were true at once, in the same body, on the same water. So what is fear actually telling us? Your body has an alarm system. It goes off when it detects danger, and it doesn't wait for you to think it through first. Your heart rate changes, your muscles tense, you're ready to move, all before you've consciously decided anything. You don't vote on it. It just happens. That's not a flaw you're supposed to grow out of once you're spiritual enough. It's the thing keeping you alive. Nobody thinks twice about it when it's obvious. A car swerves into your lane, and your body reacts before your mind catches up. Nobody calls that weak faith. We only start calling it that when the danger isn't visible to anyone but you. Because for some people, that alarm stays sensitive longer than it needs to. After something traumatic or after a long stretch of real stress, the body can keep reacting to things that aren't actually dangerous anymore. A raised voice, a certain silence, a room that reminds it of another room, which means you can know clearly that you're safe right now and still feel your body act like you're not. That doesn't make you weak. It means your body learned something once and hasn't unlearned it yet. But not everyone who feels afraid is dealing with trauma. Not every anxious moment needs a diagnosis attached to it before it counts as real. Sometimes fear is just fear, a normal reaction to something hard, nothing more mysterious than that. We don't need to pathologize it to take it seriously, and we don't need to spiritualize it to explain it either. Sometimes a feeling is just a feeling doing its job. Thousands of years before neuroscientists mapped any of this, David wrote about the same tension in Psalm 56. When I'm afraid, I put my trust in you. Notice the order there. He doesn't say he trusts God, so he never gets afraid. The fear comes first. The trust is what he does with it. Trust isn't the absence of fear, it's what happens in fear's presence. That pattern shows up again with Elijah, except this time it's physical. He's just had the biggest moment of his prophetic life. Fire from heaven, an entire nation watching, and right after it, someone threatens to kill him. And he runs until he's exhausted enough to collapse under a tree and ask to die. Scripture doesn't diagnose him. Actually, it doesn't even try to. It just tells us what God does next, which isn't a lecture. God lets him sleep and eat twice. Then eventually they talk. I think that order matters more than we give it credit for. We tend to assume the spiritual conversation has to come first. Get your heart right, then rest. Elijah gets it backwards, body first, conversation later. And then there's Jesus, the night before his arrest. In Gethsemane, he's described as deeply distressed, his soul overwhelmed to the point of death. That's not a small thing to say about God's own son. The danger in front of him is real. So is what it's doing to him internally. Both of those are true. In the same moment, he goes on to say, not my will, but yours. He doesn't wait to feel calm before he obeys. He obeys in the middle of not being calm. If fear and faithfulness can coexist there, I don't know why we'd expect them not to coexist in us. So here's where I think we get this wrong. We treat fear like a verdict, like it's telling us something true about the state of our faith. But fear isn't a verdict, it's a response. And trust isn't the absence of that response. It's what you do once it shows up. Those are three entirely different things. A threat in front of you, a past memory sitting in your body, or a belief about God that isn't actually true. Treating all three the same as a lack of faith every time doesn't fix the problem. It just leaves you ashamed for having a nervous system. So what do you actually do with that? Stop using the first jolt of fear as a measurement of anything. It's not a referendum on your walk with God. It's your body doing its job, and sometimes a job it learned to do too well. Take it seriously without treating it as spiritual failure. That can be as simple as slowing your breathing down on purpose. A few minutes of that has been shown to measurably shift how anxious someone feels in the moment. It's not instead of prayer. It's not a replacement for Scripture. It's just tending to the body God gave you, the same way you tend to any other part of your life you take seriously. And if the fear doesn't move, if it's constant or tied to something that happened to you, or it's making your life smaller, talking to someone trained for that isn't a sign that prayer failed. It's one more way of taking the problem seriously instead of just telling yourself to feel differently. God gave people the ability to study the body. Using that isn't a lack of faith. Refusing to might be closer to the opposite. Peter got back in the boat that day. Jesus didn't ask him why he was ever afraid in the first place. He asked why he doubted, which is a different question. Fear had already done what fear does. What Peter did next was the only part that was actually his to answer for. I wish I could tell you it stops once you understand it this well. It doesn't. You just do the next thing scared.